Well, I guess many of you already have probably have seen that, I had my foray into starting a business here in the Philippines when we opened the Canadian Beaver Bar. And you all know how that all went. I'm going to be the guy who will always be telling people it's probably not the best return on investment to have a restaurant or a bar. Location. I'm sure, there are exceptions. I'm sure you can do it. But if I'm going to give people advice, that wouldn't be it. And so I've been looking, at what you can do. And I think based on the number of messages I get, I'm not the only one. And there also is this thing where I used to be part of this same club, same group, where people think that foreigners can only own 40% of a corporation here. And that it's pretty unattainable. It's just not possible to have full control or 100% ownership of businesses here. And a lot of foreigners, when they come here, they're like, I'm going to open a water treatment, do the bottled water, like these ones, right? Yeah, those. And that would be a great business, because it is a little bit higher barrier to entry. And that is very important. Here in the Philippines, opening a sari-sari store is a very low barrier to entry. And the moment you have enough customers, 5 others will open up beside you and charge maybe less, be open way more hours, whatever. They will just take your business because it's a very low barrier to entry business. And in the Philippines, that's pretty critical to pick a business that isn't easy for people to get into, or they will. How many of those rotisserie chicken places, like you see, an Andoks opens up, which is a big brand here of the rotisserie chicken, and immediately, within 2 weeks, there will be 5 little stalls all selling rotisserie chicken, all literally right beside it. That's how it is. And so, yes, the water is low barrier or high barrier to entry, but not that high. And also water filtration, like that bottled water, has been around forever and everybody uses it. And so there's already a lot of people in that game. And so those big bottles of water only go for 25 pesos each. And so, you'll have a limited amount you can sell every day. And so really, how many of these bottles are you going to have to sell daily for how long to repay yourself for all the equipment that you've paid for and the ongoing costs of operating? So it's not really that great of a business either. Maybe if you put it in the right place, you're not going to lose money. I could give you that. But that's not like what most people are looking for. They were looking for a good ROI, a good return on investment. And so, I've been looking at a lot of different things and talking to a lot of people. But recently, this week, just last couple of days ago, I attended the Capiz Investor Forum. And I just want to give you an idea here. Like, this is taken very, very seriously by everyone. We had 3 congressmen, the governor, mayor, I think it was Congress or high-level government officials, even from Iloilo. We had people from different government affairs that would be related to tourism. We had people that were in charge of very, very big organizations, many very successful business owners here, as well as corporate executives of some of the biggest companies. And so it was actually really eye-opening, and I enjoyed it tremendously. But when I got my opportunity to ask a question of the 5-person panel that they put up afterwards, which I wasn't sure what I would get as an answer, I was actually pleasantly surprised. And I thought I would share it with you guys because it turns out all of those options that they provided were all businesses that a foreigner can own 100% ownership in them.
If your friend was to ask you, what is the very best business to start right now here in Roxas City that would give them a great return on investment, what would your suggestion be? Keep in mind, they're your best friend.
And so let's go through that backwards because I looked into it and I have a PDF here. Everything I'm about to tell you, I have made this PDF with clickable links, okay? So where exactly you register for certain things, or where is that information coming from, that kind of thing, for each of the businesses. And if you guys contact me, either on my website, tplrentals.com, if you're looking for rentals in the Philippines, or thatparadiselife.com, that's a place where you can find out where the best place to live is and tons of resources. You contact me in any of these places. I will send you the PDF. No need for money or anything. It's all free, okay? So the car wash one, we'll just start at the fifth one, the last one first.
For me, it really depends on how much investment my friend is willing to put up. But as Jong said, the fast return ROI is not really very certain. So if, for instance, if you only have like $1 million peso or 2 million to invest, maybe you can put in something that it's not here in the province yet. Maybe a car wash that's where you put in the car and then there's a car wash. It's something new. It's very effective. It's very cost good also for the people. So that's one thing that's very specific. Automatic car wash if you have a very little investment.
So the car wash one, they were talking about like the drive-in, drive-out of car washes. It is the one I would probably, yeah, it's interesting. It would be popular for a while and everything, but I think there's enough cars here, and the people that are willing to spend, especially rainy season when it's raining all the time. I don't know. I know it'd do well. Sure, there'd be people there all the time, but for the potential ROI that I was thinking of, yeah, maybe not. But as you pointed out, you could get away with it for, a small amount. The only thing is the minimum capital that you would have to put into a business like that in order to have 100% ownership is $200,000 US. So the likelihood you're going to spend that kind of money would mean you would have to open up, a dozen of them, maybe more. I don't know the exact cost of getting everything running. So out of that one idea there, it is possible. You can actually get the capital reduced, so that $200,000, you can get it reduced to $100,000 with advanced technology. So you'd have to get it approved saying this is advanced technology. So likely, I don't know. Or 50 Filipino employees. So I guess if you had enough locations, you might get away with it. There now you can spend only $100,000. So that's one there that it's a potential, it's possible, that was given. But the next one is very interesting, very, very interesting to me, because I didn't realize this, that you don't have to be a doctor.
Hello, Mike. To me, some specialized diagnostic or therapeutic centers. For instance, let's start with the most common, let's say breast cancer, ails women. Patient wants to have early detection. The goal is early detection because here in Capiz, in the province, we catch the disease late. So we want to have more screening tests. So if you have a specialized center, let's say a breast center, a young woman wants to be screened. She comes in, does imaging. If they find out something, they do biopsy right away. As soon as the patient comes out of the center, she already has a diagnosis. Am I clear? Or I have the disease? So treatment can start right away. So some specialized centers like that. Because as long as people continue to live, they will always contract illnesses.
If you want to have a medical diagnostic center here in the Philippines, which is extremely, extremely, extremely needed here, and it would do well. Like if doctors found out that you had this place that does mammograms or whatever, for breast cancer, or, several others that are missing in this area, they would be lined up. You would have so many clients because right now they're just not doing those type of tests at all. And if people have, the will and the real need, and they can just, it's so obvious, then yeah, they're going all the way to Iloilo to get it done. So this would be a very, very, very lucrative one, I think, for sure. And yes, so you can have 100% ownership. Minimal capital on this one is listed at $200,000. But see, there is a list, and that is for the Board of Investments. They have a list of things that are considered like super important, right? Like if they are saying these type of businesses are so beneficial to the Philippines for somebody to invest in, that they will lower thresholds for that. And not only that, there's plenty of other things you can get. You can get some, you can apply and say, listen, if I do this, I don't want to pay taxes for 3-4 years on all my income. It's quite possible. And you'll see when we get further down the list, there's actually some there that it's typical to get 7 years of no income tax. So that's a big deal. So the medical diagnostic center, yeah, so you can have 100%, but you do have to employ licensed Filipino nationals for professionals. So that could be doctors, med techs, whatever. They must be all Filipino nationals. You will be required to have a Department of Health license to operate. Once again, though, there'll be plenty of people with wind at your back to help you get this, because it'll be so appreciated if you were to invest in this category that I think you will find that all the red tape will disappear real quick. Phil Health accreditation, which is it's strongly recommended in order to, if you want to get a big part of the market, which is paid, the socialized healthcare here, right? So Catherine has it. She pays 9,000 pesos a year. If she goes to any provincial hospital or anything, it is all covered. And so if you want to be able to collect, money from the government as well, you will probably want to register with Phil Health. Strong demand is all across Capiz, and its problem is it's very limited to specialized diagnostic capability that's only available in Iloilo. So you would also get, northern Iloilo. You would get maybe out to Calibo, depending on what diagnostic center you build, because there is a brand new hospital there. You might be able to find a large customer base. But the capital is actually reducible to 100,000 because of the qualifying technology investment, and then of course if you were employing the large amount of Filipinos, but in this case you probably wouldn't be, so you would be applying it on the asking for an exemption because of how high demand it is, how needed it is in this area. And of course, a qualifying technology is clearly there. You can also apply to the Board of Investment for like a certificate. And what it does is it allows you to import these things, say from wherever they're manufactured, Singapore, China, I'm not sure, that diagnostic equipment, when you import it in, that you could have it duty-free as well. And a land lease, you can, this does qualify for 99 years under RA 12252 as a commercial industrial establishment registered with the Board of Investments, because it's on the list, so you can unlock that whole benefit. So you can lease land in order to operate this business for 99 years, so you don't have to just rent from somebody a location. If you want, you can lease the land and build your own building, whatever. That was a really good one. And if you were interested in that, I will put you with Doc Munich. He has his own centers and stuff like that. He's a renowned doctor in this area for cancer. So, he does all of the reading of everybody's scans, tells you, unfortunately, if you have cancer, or fortunately, you do not. He can put you in touch with a lot of people that can help and, help you through this, because I know it's a passion project for him. He would love to see more of that in this area.
A long term that will benefit our area, I think it's for the entire island, is an organized transport system, because we need people to have access to each other, especially for the goods. People are very important, but the cost of diesel right now is very, very expensive, and it's affecting a lot of our businesses. So even especially for our employees, those who are paid on the minimum wage, it's hurting them. So if we want to sustain, we should have we should have a good transport system.
Distribution company. Now this one we've talked about before because I pulled my hair out with the Canadian Beaver that there are no distribution companies here. And I didn't realize, but that you actually can own 100% of a distribution company with a small caveat that probably won't affect you at all. So yes, minimum capital is still $200,000 US. Probably, you're going to spend that kind of money anyway, but a large distribution company could be delivering goods to all over this island, and it would be fantastic because it's a very underserved inter-island provincial supply chain right now. And so the whole Western Visayas could really benefit from this. The opportunity to reduce the local costs of goods and stuff like that and have a big impact on the province means that you will see that there is a lot of support for something like this. You do need an LTFRB permit, which is required for the trucks, and the LTO registration for all commercial vehicles. And there actually may be even Board of Investment incentives that you apply to your business, depending if you are supporting like a priority on exports. So if you're taking things away from here, which could actually happen. So if you had a distribution company here, you could import all the stuff they need from, could be from Manila or just Iloilo. But because this is the seafood capital of the Philippines, you could then export to a shipping port or wherever. You could export the products that they need to export out of here back. So the trucks are actually going with a load in both directions, which is really, really great. And so anything with also agri supply chain is actually considered something that is a priority for the Board of Investments as well. So you could be looking at incentives, like I said, with tax breaks, tax vacations, as they call them. So that's something to be considered right there. Land lease, that qualifies also for a 99-year lease under the same RA 12252. It's under the agro-industrial supply chain and industrial estate categories. So you're going to have a lot of support on something like that. And I honestly think it's be a fantastic business for somebody to invest in.
I would say that if you want to compete on export globally, you have to look at the export industry worldwide. It's dominated by China for a certain reason, right? I mean, they have scale, they have integration. Now, how do we as a country compete in the global stage in terms of export? So we have to develop a niche market, and if you look at the globe, we are a tropical country. So for me, it does not make sense to compete with China. But, as a tropical country, what products do we have, that China doesn't have, right? That's why we really want to encourage investment in coconuts, cacao, or coffee. Because these are products grown in the tropics, right? So I think these are the products that, not only the country, not only Capiz, but the country could be competitive if done right. No? But as I mentioned, the challenge is really in the scale. The land reform has really made our agricultural lands very small. So we cannot, it's hard for us to compete. But, if we're talking about the export market, we're talking about stable volumes. So you need a certain scale in terms of producing your export product.
So the export business, and now this, Sir Bub, he brought up this one, and it's really good, especially if it's coffee or virgin coconut oil, like he was mentioning. Those type of products are easy to get here, really easy. And the competition, like you said, is so much less here because China can't copy it. Only tropical countries have these products, and the Philippines has a ton of it. And so you could own a business here, 100% ownership, no minimum capital required for this type of business, as long as 60% of your sales is export. That's it, as long as it comes from outside of the country. So if you want to do virgin coconut oil massage oil, that's even better, because now you don't need the Food and Drug Administration approval and all that, because you're not exporting food. Those kind of things, those are the kind of business you might want to consider. Now, if it is food, you are going to have to get FDA product registration and go through the approval process for that kind of thing. And if it has something to do with coconuts, there's a Philippine Coconut Authority. It's a real thing. And it's highly encouraged under the Board of Investment Priorities Plan. So that's a really, really good option. And guess what? Income tax holidays are very common to be granted for this type of industry, because they just benefit, right? Like, it doesn't take anything. So they really love this, and it isn't unheard of, especially if you want to go bigger scale, to get many years of tax-free incentive for that kind of thing. And so what you're going to need for all of that, like I said, is the FDA approval, maybe the Philippines Coconut Authority, Bureau of Customs export clearance, and some kind of sanitary certificate that I can't read, sanitary, something like that. Those are needed for agricultural products, so you can get those as well. Again, this is the type of industry you can get a lot of support, that they can help you through this whole process. And land leases, this is one of the strongest ones for RA 12252. Agriculture and agro-industrial enterprises are explicitly listed. You can have a 99-year lease, and but you, of course, need to go through the BOI. So the only thing about this is, if you're going to do the 99-year lease, you know, you can grow your own coconuts if you want and do the whole operation and export it, that whole thing. But if you do the lease on there, you must commence within 3 years of signing.
The biggest problem now is power. The cost of power here is 15 pesos per kilowatt hour. That's basically the stumbling block of any investors in coming in. To lower that, we need investors on how to lower the power rates. Meaning, we need power generations in the form of renewable, like hydro or wind power. We have a power cost 2 times or 3 times that of Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. In SBMA, we only charge 6 pesos per kilowatt hour. That's a special economic zone. But we don't source our power inside. We have to buy our power from Suwal at 4 pesos and then distribute it at 6 pesos. But here, you have a power cost of 15 pesos. That's a lot.
This one, renewable energy, this one was fantastic. And I saved this to last because it is like everything you're going to need. It was also the first one he said. But no, I think a lot of people would love this business because it doesn't take a lot of complex management. You're not gonna have to do a whole lot, especially since it's practically an emergency out here. So the Western Visayas has a razor-thin margin of surplus of electricity. Unlike in Luzon and places like that, I believe it's something like 25% surplus that they have. And so when there's really hot days or whatever, they can climb up into that surplus without a problem. We're here in the Western Visayas, there has been known, it hasn't happened up here, but I know it happened in Iloilo and Bacolod, places like that, where they've had to do like a 12-hour, 14-hour blackout, essentially, because just wasn't enough power. So as you can imagine, every level of government are going to be here to help you. You need any help at all to set up an operation like this, to generate renewable energy, they're all going to be on board. So for this one, it is $200,000, but it's often lower. So yes, $200,000 minimum capital. To do it in scale, you're going to be a lot more. But you can get that reduced. The minimum will be reduced. So it was fully liberalized. And so this is Republic Act 9513, which is the Renewable Energy Act. And they also have a Department of Energy circular that makes it part of the law as well. It's 2022-11-0034. So the Department of Energy actually will facilitate everything. And as well, they're going to give you generous fiscal incentives. I'm reading it here. Are you ready for this? A 7-year tax holiday and duty-free equipment imports. So if you're thinking you want to set up a massive solar farm here, for example, or a wind farm or whatever, and you're just going to bring in all the equipment from China, you don't have to pay any duty on that. And that's the biggest problem with a lot of things here in the Philippines, why things aren't available, is because the duty might be upwards of 50%. And so therefore it makes it unaffordable to bring in things and import them. But in this case, you can do this massive solar farm, bring it all in from China directly without paying any tax. That's huge. And then don't pay any taxes for 7 years. That's pretty amazing. They also have what it's called, I'm going to read it so I get it right, feed-in tariff and net metering programs. So that will provide revenue certainty for the qualifying projects, which all these renewable energy projects will very likely be flagged that. What that means is if you say you're going to produce 50 megawatts, well, they'll say, okay, we need 50 megawatts. We'll guarantee you, you bring us 50 megawatts, we will pay you from 50 megawatts. Then you have revenue certainty, which is obviously really good when you're making out your return on investment on these kind of things. And land lease, well, this is another one of those ones that are the strongest hits for RA 12252. Industrial energy projects are a primary target. So 99-year lease will be no problem. You will have to register with the Department of Energy and the Bureau of Investments, and that's it. You know, it's actually, honestly, it's a really good one. And I have a friend of mine, acquaintance. He runs a very large operation here, and they use a ton of electricity. And so he was looking at, for himself, he uses 50 megawatts, okay? 50 megawatts, that's huge. So his plan is a 50 megawatt system with a 4 megawatt battery system so that it helps him because in the evening there's a lot less. And so that total cost of that project is $700,000 for him to do that. Now, his power bills are outrageous. And so for him, it makes a lot of sense to do something like that. And but that just gives me like a ballpark. Okay, so, you know, get rid of the battery. You're just going to sell into the grid. That's all you care about. So it'd probably be maybe $500,000. The batteries are probably quite expensive. So maybe $500,000 to do a 50 megawatt project, maybe even less. I don't know. And that's guaranteed revenue going into the system. The Philippines uses far more electricity when the sun is out anyway. And so the demand is always through the day. That could be a really, really great business for them. The PDF I made for this has like next steps. Incorporate with the SEC. So register as a 100% foreign-owned corporation, prepare your article corporation, treasurer's affidavit, and paid up capital. So whatever amount of capital you're going to put in, when it says paid up, you're just putting it into that business's bank account. Register with the BOI, so Board of Investments, and PEZA. This is and how you're going to get all of your incentives by doing that. So you're going to apply for investment priority plan incentives, income tax holidays, duty-free imports. There's several other ones that you can apply for as well. The next one would be like if you're going to be leasing land, would be to secure yourself a land lease, and then getting all your local permits and everything else. The cool thing about this part, say you're doing that big power project, on a 99-year lease project like that. Now this is going to be something quite interesting to people because, yeah, you can go and do a private land lease for the 99 years, register it, get it all done, right? But there's another thing called PPP here, which is private-public partnership. And what you can do is you can go to the province, you could go to the city, you could go to the federal government, and you could say, I'm going to be doing something that you guys consider a priority in your area. I'm going to be investing X amount of dollars, and which is going to generate, this much electricity, and it's going to be all renewable. I would like to do a PPP with you. And so what that means is, well, the government has tons of land, right? The Ministry of Agriculture or whatever, all these different departments are all over the place. They have swaths of land, enormous amount of land, that you could negotiate with them to say, listen, you give me the land for 99 years, I'll build the project. And so you can negotiate these kind of projects with them because they desperately need it and you can provide it. So that could actually save you a lot of money. You could still get your tax holiday, you could get this, you could get that, and maybe you could get the land for 99 years for free. It's a good deal. And then, of course, the last one would be apply for industry-specific licenses. So this is like the Department of Health if you're going to do the medical, the power, which is DOE, your FDA approvals, PCA for exporting agriculture, or the LTO if you're going to do the transportation business, that kind of thing. And if you guys are interested at all in any of this stuff, I'm happy to give you any of my contacts I have. You want to sit down and talk to a congressman and you're very serious about doing a major project, not a car wash, they're not going to probably meet with you. Congressmen, governors, whatever, I'm happy to help facilitate it. I don't want any money. I don't want any percent. I'm just happy to see that this area succeed. And so therefore I would be happy to just make the connection for you, and you guys go make your millions. Okay. Anyway, so so it gave me a lot to think about going to this conference. And I actually had a few ideas of my own that, talking with other people around me, that maybe, these type of projects are outside of my financial purview. But there were some other ideas that came up for myself that were a little smaller, well, much smaller, that I could save up a few months. But maybe I'll be interested in. Anyway, guys, I hope this is helpful. I know a lot of people are like, Michael, there's got to be businesses I can have 100% control in. What are good businesses to invest in? I think this actually answered both of those questions, because a lot of these projects are great. Like with the 100% ownership, you can just see how they would be a great return on investment. And they are like coming not just from me, but from business leaders in this area saying, we need these type of businesses. Hope this helps. Make sure if you're looking for rentals here in the Philippines, tplrentals.com. And if you're looking for all kinds of resources, thatparadiselife.com. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
At 29 and I find myself wondering, what did happen to the last 10? I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the ring.